So welcome everybody, and thank you very much for joining us today. Just to let everyone know, we do record these talks and we'll put them on the website so that they can be viewed by people after the event. And this is a slightly different talk to our usual Zoom gallery talks, because we will have our partners outside in taking over the talk and discussing both themselves as an organisation and the process that the outside in artists went through and the journey they went on to develop the show. For those people who haven't seen it, it's a really exciting and very different installation to the previous two Jerwood exhibitions. And so I thank the 5 artist curators and of course Outside In for bringing a very different energy to bear on the Jerwood collection. Yeah, do come and see the exhibition at the gallery if you haven't already. We're going to go into the talk now, and as usual, it will run for around 30 minutes, and then there'll be an opportunity for some questions and answers afterwards. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Marc Steene, who's the director of Outside In. Thanks, Marc.
Thank you, Lisa, and huge thanks to the Harley Gallery and the Jerwood Collection for the opportunity to, well, it's in many ways a unique opportunity to engage with the Jerwood Collection and our own Outside In collection, and have the opportunity to support our artists for the first time to make selections and curatorial decisions in relation to an exhibition. And I'm really pleased to say that I feel it's been a huge success. So a little bit about Outside In. We're a charity nationally that supports artists who face significant barriers to the art world. Those include mental health, disability, social circumstance, or isolation. We have approximately 3,400 artist online galleries, and we work with around 1,500 to 2,000 artists on average per year. We work primarily in partnership, we're not venue-based, and we have 3 main strands of activity. Artist support, which is about sort of pastoral care, but also finding artists that meet our criteria to help them to engage with the art world. We have an exhibitions program, and we also have a training program. So Outside In, its premise and purpose is very much about trying to sort of bring into view and to celebrate and recognise that there's a much broader and richer scene of creative individuals in our society than those who just get the opportunity currently to have the work exhibited. I've had many years working in social care. I also worked as a community support worker. I trained as an artist. And I know firsthand from those many years of experience that there are many people making art for often very personal reasons, and often of great beauty and honesty and integrity. A rare thing, I think, in our world, especially in the art world, when it's all about commodity and artifice quite often. So finding those artists that need our help and supporting them and bringing them into view, I believe, broadens views about what is art and who is an artist. It challenges a lot of conventional thinking and is an important step in making the art world a more inclusive and diverse place where it resonates with a broader set of values than just the historical ones currently in place. I've said a bit about what we do, but we are, as I've said, actively looking for artists that need our help. So we have a program of artist support days where we travel up and down the United Kingdom, finding artists that require our support, and they are then given one-to-one guidance in establishing their own online gallery. It's often quite the first time many artists will have shared their work, and we have people who've never physically or visually shared that their work. And I was thinking the other day about the transformational steps in an artist's journey. One that is being seen for the first time, just being seen, and by putting their work online through our website, the work is seen and it's part of our current society. and arts community. And those sort of steps from being recognised and valued through an organisation that, through its partnership working with organisations like the Jerwood and the Harley, gives credence and value, it is very powerful. Move on. So, I mean, we have a collection now, and it's been a part of our journey from the beginning. So the Outside In collection really started when Outside In started in 2007, and the first pieces acquired from our first open exhibition in 2007. The project started in 2006 as part of Pallant House Gallery, one programme amongst many in its community programme that I set up. Over the period, you know, the works and the quality of the work that we've come across and bought or acquired have grown to tell a remarkable story about the charity and its growth from a project through to being now an independent charity, an Arts Council National Portfolio Organisation, and growing from when we first left the gallery with 2 employees to 10 employees now. So our collection, I think there's a sort of, for me, a moral imperative, and it's when we know the world is far from perfect place, and there's awful crimes and things that happen, you know, inhumanity and cruelty abounds often, but not always. And I always felt this sort of sadness, especially when I was working with artists with learning disabilities, that of all the people in our society, their voices, their works, their creativity is just lost. You know, it often came to nothing. I worked in situations where their work was just given as a containment activity without any sense of it being art or them being artists. And I look back and I think that those collections, those grand collections, not just the journal, you know, the museums and galleries spread across our country, and the work that's in them, the majority of which has been produced by informed, affluent, middle-class people. But there's a sort of a cleansing of culture that has happened in a, I think, not a, you know, a very good way. So we've lost a lot of interesting and wonderful artists, and I'm really keen that we don't do that going forward. If you're looking at perspectives in history, if you think about the Victorian era and sort of the greats of Victorian art, you know, it was people like Edward Landseer, you know, who created the lions at Trafalgar Square. But alongside him, there's people like Richard Dadd, you know, who was in the Bethlehem Asylum, producing these sort of fantastic fairy pictures, which are, you know, sublimely strange and mysterious. And I sometimes think, given the sort of passage of time, who is the more interesting and greater artists, and who are we to say what is the value in our current culture? So I really think that I want what we're doing to be a legacy for future generations, and that many of the works we have been acquired from artists, others have been gifted, and or have been bought on our behalf. And the collection is, you know, trying to represent the demographic of artists that we work with. We're about to have it put on the Art UK database. We'll be using it. We use it currently. There's an online exhibition curated by Joe Berring of some of the works from our collection, and the intention is to use it as a resource for our training and to have it as an integral part of our work. I just wanted to show this slide. I just googled a while ago, sort of art labels or you know, descriptors of art, and historically how it's written about and how it's described, and how as a charity we're trying to do things very, very differently. You know, the assumptions in the language used to describe art presupposes a knowledge of art history and art terminology. It talks about art and artists in a way which is slightly impersonal. It'll always refer to their surname once they've been listed. So you'll have like Thiebaud's characteristic sensuous colours. I always think smacks of a sort of middle-class public school way of talking about people. It talks about and languages and art movements that not everyone will understand. And it's often as well, you know, given its sort of provenance and where it came from, and that sense of it being like an artifact and removed from the person who made it, and we have no sense really what, you know, is who Wayne was and why and what he wanted from his work. And I think what we were trying to do with this particular course and project with Harley and with the Jerwood was to break some of those ways of thinking about art and who gets to put it together, curate it, tell the stories. And I believe it's sort of vital to sort of, you know, break some of those sort of long held, but often just not thought about roles and decisions currently in the art world. So we've got to where we are. So we have a training program called Step Up, and the more recent, and I think one of the more exciting aspects of which is our curating exhibitions program. The intention is to give our participants and our artists the skills and confidence to curate an exhibition themselves. And rather like the other Step Up courses, it'll cover everything from the basics through to you know, considerations around budget, planning, installation, you know, working with art installers, and also looking around conceptual considerations and stories and storytelling, and thinking about the space and how a site will dictate often how works are presented. And I should just say now, this is our first venture into this world and using our artists in this way, and I'm really delighted to have two artists with us for this presentation. There's Angela and Corinne, who will be talking in a little bit. But I have to take my hat off to Lisa and to Lara to having had the confidence and the patience to go with us in terms of enabling enabling our artists to have the opportunity to properly select and decide and put together selections of work, and for that to be sort of used to inform the display. And it is, you know, it's interesting because it seems, I mean, it would seem an obvious thing to be doing, but and in some ways there have been, you know, works where people have had sort of, you know, communities engaged in selecting works, but I think the ultimate power of curation is seen as something removed and beyond. So I'm delighted that we've had this opportunity. I'm going to just talk through a bit of the sort of process the artist went on. I'm slightly going to need, occasionally I might refer to Angela and Corinne if they can sort of flesh it out a bit, because I wasn't necessarily going to be talking about this bit in such detail. What we did is we gave them sort of carte blanche in a way from the outside in collection to look at the works there, to look at the works from the Jerwood Collection, and to have their own responses to them as a group. And I mean, I was quite interested to see what came out of it. And I don't know if I could just sort of ask a little bit about if Corinne and Angela are happy to say a little bit about how they came from that to start sort of honing their work down into these sort of areas. How did you come to pull together these works, and sort of why did you put them in these sort of groupings? Angela, are you happy to say?
Yeah, initially we were just given lots of images and asked to have a look through them and choose things from whatever perspective we wanted, really. And I personally looked through and went, I like that, just because I like it, because that's what I do. Corinne might have another way of looking at things to me. And I just want to just mention to the audience that Corinne's here with me today, and Pamela and Mel and Ailey were the other three artists who can't be with us today, who this is a collaboration, and not just from mine and Corinne's perspective, and you know, it wouldn't be what it is without them. So
thank you, Angela. Angela, I know that you had a particular favourite, which is the gumnut folk. Can you tell me why, I'm going to bring it up, why that picture resonates with you? Sorry, why the work? Yes.
well, there were I think there were about 3 images of these gumnut folks, and I just like them because they are basically, they're cute, they're quirky, they're made from found objects. I like collecting things. It's the sort of thing that I would pick up on a walk. So I'm very tactile, and so yeah, it was like, yeah, I really like those. Yeah.
And I'm just sorry, I'm going to whip back and forth a little bit, but Corinne, and then, you know, because obviously that was saw the exhibition, and it was within the sort of materiality sort of section, wasn't it? And shown alongside that bowl here.
Yeah, well, what happened there, initially, when I personally saw the selection from Jerwood, I looked at it and I went, yeah, well, that's okay. It's painting and drawing. I like painting and drawing. Nothing wrong with it. But then when I saw the outside in collection and I saw the different materials and things, I was like, yeah, this is really important to me. These are things that I like. These are things that I want to see included, the different materials. Not everyone works in, you know, paint sort of thing. And further down the line, which was the last session we were all together at the Arley in the education centre, Lisa came over and she was sat quietly watching us. There was myself and Mel and Hayley, and Corinne and Pablo were joining in remotely, which was great. There's a lot of picking up the laptop and holding it at an angle so they could see where we're moving pictures around. And so materiality came to kind of be my little area, if you like, because I was really keen that it was included. But it seemed quite small. And then in comparison to some of the other things. And then Lisa came over and said, right, you know, this is great. I'm paraphrasing Lisa, obviously. But we also have these things in the Jerwood. And then this was the thing about one of the first things she showed. And it was like, wow, this is great. This is perfect. This is Amix, you know. Didn't know anything about the Jerwood collection or what was in it previously, quite honestly. And then it was like, yeah, this is great, because now there's something to join up with, to speak to more directly in that sort of area of materials. So yeah, we like the bowl. Others of the group like the bowl as well. I mean, what's not to like? It's got everything. It's got shape, it's got colour, it's got form, it's got interest, it's layered. You want to pick it up. And seeing it actually in situ when we went to the opening, it looks great. It's a fabulous choice, yeah. So that was down to Lisa knowing all about the collection, really, and going, we have this.
Yeah. When you're pulling that together, that's wonderful, isn't it? That idea that you've got somebody with you who knows the Jerwood collection so well and can make those links. And Angela, I think, you know, the work by Anthony Stevens on the slide as well, you know, that you quite like the sort of tactileness of that, don't you? And
yeah, I mean, the first thing that appeals to me about that is again, first thing I ever see when I look at anything is colour, and then the form and the texture, all pretty, you know, rapid succession. And for me, this is, you know, this is a drawing, in effect, made from textiles. It's an illustration, which, you know, I love that sort of work. But it's got this really profound message, you know. It's like, you know, and I thought this really speaks to the now, you know, animals, extinction and things like this. And so I think it's a really powerful piece on lots of levels, not least of all the quality of the making of it. And when you see that in person, you know, it's hanging there, and you know, you kind of want to touch it. Obviously you don't, out of respect, but it is very tactile. And I think, you know, it's amazing. And the more you look at it, the more you see in there. It's literally a collage, isn't it, out of different threads.
It's a wonderful thing, you know, it is. And it's something, there's something childlike as well, isn't there? Something about playfulness and in the work. And I mean, do you have some experience within art therapy as well?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Mark?
Sorry, I was just saying something about the sort of
yeah, for me, I mean, from my personal making, it's about making. It's not necessarily about the final outcome.
No.
It's about the process and the experience and the feeling. And all artists will feel that. We're all different. How that supports us or not is different. But again, this piece on the right-hand side of the screen, Koji's piece, when we came together, we had that first look at the things yourselves, and then we all remarkably went, yeah, we really like Koji's piece. And I read up a little bit about him and found out that, you know, he has this particular eye condition, and as his eyesight has deteriorated, the work has moved more towards the right hand side of the paper, and this is actually music. It looks like threads to me. It's actually, you know, a drawing, and from that we sort of found out that another artist, Alice, and surname's just escaped me, I apologise, Alice, if you're listening, composed some music in response to his work some time ago. And Hayley also picked up on that, and with some research and some phone calls and, you know, connecting, Alice very kindly agreed to let this music be played in the exhibition, which is fabulous, you know. And that was just another joyful, can't believe we managed to do that sort of thing.
That was fantastic. I was gonna, there's another new work which Corinne made, and I think Corinne, if you don't mind me to you now about a little bit about the work you produced, and also about how it resonates with the work of Layla Kassab from the Outside In collection.
Yeah. So Layla was unable to experience like a normal carefree childhood because she was born in Gaza and she had a lot of trauma and suppressed emotions. But through her art, it's like a therapy and allows her to express her passion and to feel free in a way. So I struggle with hearing voices, and often they don't let me sleep much at night. And this pillow was produced during one night when my voices were really bad. And the text says, "Are you real or inside my head?" That was influenced by both the surrealism in Layla's work and by the sort of theme of the depictions of reality room. And I chose to use the colours purple, green and orange because they're colours that I noticed Layla used a lot within her work. And I sewed the letters on the pillow using synthetic wig hair because I have a hair pulling disorder. And there's also a video that's on exhibit in the Harley as well. And within the video, I featured a couple different types of daisies. And this was influenced by Layla's work because she often uses flowers, birds, and nature elements. And I just really liked Layla's work and thought that, you know, she's a really strong and inspiring artist.
Were there any other artists or artworks that resonated with you, Corinne, from the process?
Yeah, I really like Dora Carrington's self-portrait. I think we've got a picture of it somewhere.
I'm not sure. Is there a picture on here? Let's see if I can find
I
it.
think we've got a small picture of it.
Okay, I'll find it.
There she
There
is.
it is. There she is up there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
yeah.
So I really like Dora Carrington, who's in the Jerwood Collection. Dora preferred to be referred to just by their last name, so just Carrington. And the piece explores her troubled relationship with traditional notions of femininity. And I really like this piece because I create self-portraits myself. And so obviously she's depicted herself in trousers and a shirt, and the time in which she produced the work, I think it was 1916, that was thought to be like men's attire, you know, men's clothing. And it was extremely rare for a woman to present herself like this. And I just think it's a really brave and striking self-portrait. And sadly, she didn't receive that much recognition in her lifetime, and she passed away in her late 30s. So I was just really happy that we could include Carrington's piece.
Corinne, I know that you, of all the participants, had to take part remotely and weren't able to travel. So how was that for you, and actually being involved in working from a distance?
Well, I'm normally bedbound, so it's difficult for me to travel places because I get really worn out. And it's really lovely that Outside In and the Harley Gallery made it possible for me to take part remotely on Zoom, so I could just stay in the safety of bed but still feel like I was part of the group. I was a bit worried at first that I might not sort of feel part of the group because I wouldn't be able to meet anyone physically, but from the very first session, I immediately just felt like I was there with everyone else, and everyone was really lovely. Like Angela said, there was a lot of sort of lifting the computer up and making sure that I could see everything. And yeah, it was just really lovely, and I felt really included, and opportunities like this normally aren't available to me, so it was something that I didn't think would ever be possible. So I'm just really thankful that this happened.
Okay. I mean, if I might asking both of you, I mean, what did you think you learned through the process of the course and doing the exhibition? What was it, a new set of skills, or you know, what the standout things you think that you learned?
I mean, I was really interested in joining this because I'd just done some separate training earlier in the year with Wakefield's Mental Health Museum, so it tied along really nicely with that, about learning about curating. But you know, so I came into it with sort of like, oh yeah, I want to see how this works and how you choose things and how they get hung on the wall. But it's been much more than that, really. It's been, you know, sort of, you've learned all those new skills, which is absolutely great. And but actually on that first day, I know Corinne was remote on that day, but meeting the other artists, it was like a breath of sunshine after lockdown and not being able to meet people and things, and talking to people and having them stimulating conversations again in person, and just learning so much. And yeah, it's been a great development opportunity, and I've really enjoyed it. And I think I'm really keen that all artists are seen equally. And the fact, again, as Corinne has already said, I couldn't go to the sessions over in the West Midlands because that's too far for me to go in one day and back. So I joined remotely, and that was great as well, to be able to do that. And for these, you know, like Outside In and the Jerwood Collection to be available, and the Arley, and everyone's pulled together And not forgetting Josie and Tess, who actually led the course, who have supported us all the way. To be able to bring artists who normally wouldn't be seen in a setting such as this into the public eye, I think it's brilliant, and I hope this is going to be a domino effect. I think people are going to look at the ALI working with outside in and go, you know what, we should be doing that, because they totally should. And so yeah, it's really hard to just put it in a real simple sentence, but I've really enjoyed it, and I'm really grateful, most of all, to have had the opportunity to do it, because I, never in a million years from my background would I have thought I'd be sitting here in this space having these types of conversations. So yeah.
And you summarised it perfectly. It's not a lot more to say. I mean, a huge thanks to Tess and Jose, who Angela mentioned, who led the course, and that we will be using this course again in the near future with several other exhibitions, and one of which will be in Wakefield. But yes, so I think that is our time in terms of us. I'm going to hand back to Lisa, I think, if she wants to.
Yeah.
Lisa, are you there? Should I stop sharing or should I continue?
I think you could, continue. Perhaps have one of the slides up of the work.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, in some ways, really interesting. I would almost repeat exactly what Angela has just said about my experience of working on Kindred Spirits, because it did take a lot of patience on my part, and that's no bad thing. And I had to learn loads of new skills. They weren't necessarily the same skills Angela learned, but it was the same journey, and it was about stopping and listening to other people. And certainly I now understand there's a whole load of hidden, quite tedious parts to my job of putting on exhibitions, which need to be described to newcomers such as Angela and Corinne. They're not particularly special, but you have to know them to be able to create a public exhibition. And so going forward, I think I'd be much clearer about the pre-work that I'd give to new artist curators to help them get to the point where you actually are picking works and understanding the label writing and so on and so forth. But that day, Angela and Corinne and Tess, that I joined you in our education studio, and Angela said, Lisa was listening quietly, I was genuinely taken aback by the excitement and fervour and enthusiasm you all brought to the job. Really, thank you very much.
Yeah, huge thanks everybody. So, is there any questions? Before we go, anybody would like ask any questions? I'm gonna have to work out how to do this. If you put your hand up, I'm trying to see the. If not, just huge thanks to everybody for coming today, listening to us. It's been a pleasure. If you want to find out more about Outside In, there's a website. There's a lot more there. You can find out if you want to help support us. We've got also, if you know any artists who might want to find out more and who might need our support, please do get in touch. There's a wonderful team, the Outside In team. Huge thanks to them as well for all their help behind the scenes with everything. And I wish you all a very nice rest of your day. Have a good time. It's sunny here. Not sure what it's like with you, but there you go. I can see. I'm going to go. All right.
Okay. Well, it's definitely not sunny here. Quite the reverse. But anyway, thank you very much, everyone. Do come and watch the show, because honestly, it's really exciting.
It is.
I'm going to end this soon now. Many thanks, everybody.
Thank
Welcome to the team.
Thank you, Corinne, Angela. You're stars always.
Bye, both.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.